Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Mei Lee Show. I'm glad you could join me. For those of you who are watching the video version of the show, you will notice that I'm in a completely different environment doing my show. This is just a different part of my house. Long story, don't worry, I'm going to go back to my old set, I say, which is my dining room. This is actually my home office where I'm shooting. Like I said, long story. It's a logistical thing that I had to figure out, and I'll move back next time to the old dining room set. Anyway, so this episode is going to be a little bit simpler. No interviews. It's the day after Inauguration Day, the inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as president and vice president. And I wanted to just, in some ways, I wanted to just release and just share my thoughts and insights and just process what happened. Because I don't know about you guys, but I feel such a sense of overwhelming relief and joy, of course, that this nightmare is finally over. And those of you who have been listening to this podcast and watching my podcast, I've made it no secret that I've never been a fan of Donald Trump. He is a man who has been so incredibly divisive and so hateful and so power hungry and so ultimately selfish that he, in the last 4 years, has done such incredible damage to not only the country, but to the world. And yesterday, when Joe Biden was finally inaugurated and sworn in, as was Kamala Harris, which was such a moment, let's just talk about that for a second. First woman, first Black Asian vice president. And that was just a stunning, tears of joy moment for all of us, I think. Communities of color, certainly, for women, for girls, for young women, for the African-American community, for the Asian community. I mean, it really was such a powerful moment that this woman who was the daughter of immigrants who came to America seeking a better life, who raised this incredibly intelligent, strong-willed woman who wanted to give her life to public service. And so to see that moment was, I was crying. I was crying throughout the whole day. I was literally crying throughout the whole inauguration. When Joe Biden gave his incredible speech of unity, I thought he struck the perfect tone. He sent the perfect message to everyone, all Americans, because he said he wanted to be a president for all Americans, not just those who supported him. And that's what we need right now. We need someone to bring this very divided country together. And it's not going to be easy. Look, I'm not trying to spin some fairy tale like everything is going to be fine now because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are, in the White House. No, it's going to take incredible work. They have an Everest-sized mountain to climb with everything that they have to deal with now, with the divisiveness, of course, in the country, the COVID pandemic, economic fallout, political instability, climate change. Talk about inheriting just the worst problems that could possibly be taken on by a president. But Joe Biden, like him or not, you can't argue that he is a man that has great compassion and empathy because of everything he himself has gone through, all the loss and all the grief, all the heartache, and all the disappointments. Remember, this was his third go-around trying to become president, and, third time's a charm. So you have to give that man credit for persevering and his resilience. I admire that because I feel like I have certainly had my share of grief and loss and disappointments, and I admire people who can, pick themselves up and keep moving forward. And so no matter what side you are on or you were on, right now is a moment where we all need to really say to ourselves, what does this country need right now? What do we need right now? And together, how can we rebuild what has been destroyed? Democracy at least survived even after that insurrection 2 weeks ago. And that proved that at least our system, that our Constitution, that was written centuries ago, it still holds. And so we have to really relish in that. That was a moment that at least we were tested, the system was tested, but the system was able to hold. So yesterday, I was crying on and off. And then, of course, the moment came that everyone is talking about for good reason. And that is that young poet laureate, Amanda Gorman. Oh my God. I mean, talk about just blowing the roof off of that whole ceremony. She was such a powerful, authentic, genuine, intelligent, articulate, just deep, passionate, speaker. It just blew. I can't find words. I'm sounding like an idiot talking about her because she was so incredibly powerful. And her poem that she read, that she had researched and written, and she was halfway through it when January 6th, the insurrection happened. So she tried to incorporate that, but she didn't want that moment to overtake the whole poem and what it was about, because at the core of this poem, it was about exactly what I was saying, the fact that this is a resilient country. Our democracy is still young, and we're still building, and we're still moving forward, and we need to do it together no matter how many hardships we've all been through. And she talking about the fact that she's a skinny Black girl, descendants of slaves and raised by a single mother, and here she is speaking at a presidential inauguration. I mean, the whole thing was so powerful, so moving, that she is obviously the breakout star of the inauguration, again, for absolutely the right reasons. So if you haven't listened to her interview that she gave to Anderson Cooper on CNN, it's really insightful because she talks about the process of how she goes about writing a poem like that. She was asked in late December by the inauguration committee to be a speaker at the ceremony. And she, of course, is the youngest poet to ever speak at a presidential inauguration, the other two having been Robert Frost at JFK's, John F. Kennedy's inauguration, and then Maya Angelou at Barack Obama's inauguration. So she was telling Anderson that her process is actually very research-oriented. It's very focused. It's not like she just loosely finds words and phrases just, that come to her. She actually does research. She researches, and she talked about finding inspiration from Twitter and the texts that Twitter was churning out during the insurrection and, post-insurrection. So she is a woman of words, obviously, because she's a poet, but she really digs deep. She researched history. She researched historical figures who were good orators, I think she talked about Winston Churchill and Martin Luther King Jr., of course, and others who made an impact with words, because she said, of course, words matter. Anyway, I could go on and on about her, but Amanda Gorman, not rising star, superstar already. So what an incredible moment that was. And for some reason, if some of you did not hear her speak at the inauguration, run to YouTube or whatever platform has it and go and listen and watch it, because it will be a moment that won't be forgotten, definitely. So that was a great moment. And, I think overall what struck me, and I think so many others, is that we immediately felt like there was calm and sort of empathetic and just someone who was an adult, was finally back in the position of president, and someone who really, it wasn't about him. he just didn't make it about him. He made it about us. He made it about America. He made it about the idea that he's here to serve the country. It wasn't about him like it was about Donald Trump constantly. And, you know, I just said his name again, Donald Trump. I think from now on, I'm going to try not to say his name anymore. I want him to vanish from the history books. I know that's not going to be possible. But I don't want him to get any more recognition, any more attention, because he doesn't deserve it. That's what he wants. He's always just wanted to be the focus and the center of attention. And so if I refer to him, I'll say him or maybe 45, maybe something like that. Anyway, so it was, Joe Biden starting yesterday after the inauguration and getting right to work. It was just such a stark difference from what we experienced with 45. And so it's just so refreshing to see that the adults are back in the room. And these are all professionals. They're experienced, they're knowledgeable, and they're willing to get to work right away to bring this country back to a state of some respect. And I know the world was watching, and I know the world is also relieved. Maybe not everyone, but a lot of the world is relieved, because I have friends all over the world who were saying the same things, the sense of relief and happiness and joy, and congratulating us that we finally got here. And so that's great to see that the world supports the U.S. and supports the idea of us getting back in the game and working with our allies. And so we saw yesterday, Joe Biden immediately signed several executive orders, including rejoining the Paris Climate Accord, rejoining the WHO, striking down several environmental regulations that, rolling the regulations that 45 had rolled back, Biden is going to put back into place. Halting the border wall that, of course, Mexico never paid for, immigration decisions, lifting the Muslim ban. So already we see that Joe Biden is trying to right a lot of wrongs. And it's just so refreshing. It's a relief. I feel like this whole weight has been lifted. Yeah. I forgot to mention this shirt that I'm wearing. I'm going to stand up. It's the Unity and Love shirt created by Kelly Hu and 33 Edge. Thanks, Kelly. Yesterday, I wore the American t-shirt by 33 Edge and Kelly Hu, and today I'm wearing the Unity and Love, because that's exactly how we should feel now, and this is exactly the mantra we should all have moving forward. Okay, anyway. So Amanda... why am I saying Amanda? Because I can't get her out of my mind. Okay, so I was speaking to my mom this morning about the inauguration and how it was, it was just so, we felt like relief, and she felt relief, because my mom, even though she is a traditional Korean woman, she's going to be 84 next month. She saw what was happening. She saw what was happening under 45. She saw the destruction. She saw the division. She saw the racism. And so she, too, is so happy with this change. And she said something really, really insightful when we started talking about Amanda Gorman. And she said, because her English isn't great, she said, some of the poems she couldn't follow during the inauguration, but she could tell that it was a powerful poem. But then she said, it's so great that young Black women like her are being elevated and being put in the spotlight like that, to show that they have contributions to make, that they deserve a chance. And that's what we need to see more of and do more of. And hopefully with Joe Biden, that's going to happen more. I just thought, Mom, that is really amazing that you said that. And I just thought, yeah, exactly. Representation matters, right? That's why, my show is all about trying to elevate representation and trying to say, all communities from all backgrounds need to be given that chance to speak up and speak out and be heard and be seen. And so that I thought was such a profound, comment for my traditional Korean mom to say. So thanks, Mom. That was really awesome. But speaking of representation, I know a lot of you, and me too, we're a little bit disappointed, maybe a lot disappointed, that the Biden cabinet has no Asians. He's hired other Asians for different positions, like trade representative, but there are no cabinet members who are Asian. That is a disappointment because we did want to see that kind of representation for the AAPI community. He's obviously appointed South Asians, and so we can't forget that. Kamala Harris is obviously South Asian. What can I say about that? I can say that, yes, of course, I wish there were more AAPIs in his cabinet. I hope during his term and continuing, his legacy and maybe continuing afterwards, that AAPIs, get more involved and that they are recognized for their contributions and that we, do hold more of those positions. Here's a confession. I actually applied to work for the Joe Biden administration. Yeah, you know why? Okay. All right, let me tell you the story. So I was watching the news one night about a month and a half ago, probably. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. And I think it was Rachel Maddow on MSNBC, and she was saying that they're taking applications for positions in the White House, in the Biden White House. And it was all online. And it just struck me. I'm like, this is such a momentous time in our history. And this is the time to really try to make a difference and serve in some way. And so I said, well, screw it. I'm going online. I went online and I applied. I wrote this amazing cover letter about how I want to serve the country and why this is so meaningful at this time because of such great division. I haven't heard from them. Oh, well, maybe they'll call. Maybe my letter got lost in the mail or something. But yeah, that's how strongly I felt about where we are right now as a country and what this administration and the change in administration from 45 to to the Biden administration, how significant this is and how we all need to try and do something to contribute to turning the ship around. So President Biden, if you're still looking for people, my application is in there somewhere in the pile. Oh boy. Anyway, okay. So going back to representation. The one thing I noticed in the days leading up to the inauguration, and of course on Inauguration Day, was there was an Asian Secret Service guy who was always protecting Joe Biden. Like he was the lead guy. He was right there always, like behind him, next to him, walking next to him in the car. And so I, posted that on Instagram yesterday morning. I was like, hey, it's great to see that an Asian guy is Joe Biden's lead Secret Service agent. Well, one of my warrior viewers then wrote back and said he's David Cho, and then she kind of gave me this whole rundown on who he is. And so it's David Cho. He's special agent to lead the Biden presidential detail, according to people familiar with the changes. Known as a perfectionist supervisor, he had risen to become second in command of the protective detail during the Trump administration. Cho was awarded the Department of Homeland Security's Gold Medal for exceptional service in 2019 for his negotiations with North Korean officials to arrange security for Trump's historic visit there, while still overseeing security planning at the White House complex. So he's Korean American. Yay, soul brother. But kind of cool that he has risen up the ranks of the Secret Service and is now appointed as special agent for President Biden. So congrats to you, David Cho. You make us proud. The one thing I have heard, though, unfortunately, because the racist still exists. Apparently, there are a bunch of comments coming out about him being a Chinese spy and, all this shit. So whatever. I mean, that shit's going to happen. But very proud of David Cho. Representation on that side. But yeah, again, wish we had at least one cabinet member who was Asian. Okay, so moving on, the first job at hand for President Biden is dealing with the COVID crisis that's still obviously raging. And apparently yesterday when he started working, and remember, 45 and his team never wanted to offer the Biden team any information before he actually took office. So they were kind of going blind on a lot of different issues, including COVID. Well, apparently they found out yesterday after he was inaugurated that the 45's team, and 45, of course, had no COVID vaccination distribution plan. None. There's no plan. It's non-existent. So 45, in the weeks leading up to his ass getting kicked out, he was doing nothing. I mean, we kind of knew that because all he was doing was playing golf and all that, but he literally was doing nothing. He was not mapping out any kind of plan for vaccine distribution. And, obviously the rest of his White House team wasn't doing anything. So there's no plan. So the Biden team has to literally start from scratch to devise a vaccine distribution plan, a nationwide plan. The good news is that today, Joe Biden came out and did a press conference and introduced their new COVID overall federal plan, which includes vaccine distribution, but it includes like a lot of other issues dealing with COVID. And it's like a 200-page plan that's available online for all of us to look at if we want. But he gave this press conference today, and it covered everything from, new mask mandates to PPEs to how to reopen schools and businesses to vaccine distribution to vaccine manufacturing, all of that. So, and then he also signed several new executive orders that have to do with COVID relief and how to deal with the pandemic. So, again, day one, full day as president, he's already dealing with this. Dr. Fauci is right there front and center, and he'll be involved. And it's great to see him back in action after he was sidelined by 45. So that's really good news. But he did say, and again, this is refreshing too. President Biden said, listen, we are going to be transparent with you. We're going to tell it like it is, good or bad. Bad news, good news, we're going to tell it like it is. We're not going to hold anything from you. No more filtering, no more, sort of lies. So he said in this press conference, it's going to get worse before it gets better. He predicts that there's going to be 500,000 deaths because right now we're over 400 by, like next month or in the next 2 months. So, sobering. Right? He said it's going to be several months before we get vaccines into everyone's arms. But, he's pushing for a lot of things that weren't happening before under 45. So we have to be vigilant still. We have to wear those masks. We have to still practice social distancing. One thing that was a little bit nerve-wracking, I heard from a doctor today on the news, and he is on the task force, the COVID task force. He basically was saying that new information that's coming out because of all the new COVID variants that are being discovered, right? You have the UK variant, you have the South African variant, you have like a Brazilian variant, and they're all much more contagious. He said that because of all these new variants that are coming up, that regular cloth masks might not be good enough, that we probably should start wearing surgical masks or the KN95 masks to ensure for better protection. And apparently, oh gosh, I might got this wrong, but I think it was the UK where they're starting to mandate the surgical masks rather than just wearing the cloth masks. So that goes to show that, we still are at a place of incredible danger, where we really, really have to pay attention to what's developing, because there's still so much we don't know about what's going on with COVID. And even the vaccines, there's still so much we don't know about how effective they are and the side effects that people are getting. So you need to stay on top of it. Let's put it that way. I'm doing my best to provide you guys the information that I can gather, but you should too. Just try to be a little bit more diligent about receiving the proper information. Thank God, though, now we have an administration that's not going to keep information from us. They're not going to lie. This administration believes in science and data. And Joe Biden was saying today in the press conference, he just kept on saying over and over again, we will follow the science and the data. We will follow the experts, the health experts. It is not about politics. We're not going to inject political viewpoints into this. This is all about science and data. Ugh, thank God. So that's the situation with COVID, and the master plan that Joe Biden has laid out. Hopefully that will get the ball rolling in terms of really, really combating this pandemic in the right way, in an organized fashion, on a federal level, a nationwide level, so that everybody is on the same page instead of like trying to piecemeal things together, state by state, city by city, county by county. So hopefully we'll start seeing those changes, and that people who were naysayers and doubters, who were following just the crazy shit that was being spewed by who, maybe they will finally come around. Is that wishful thinking? I don't know. Maybe it is. But hopefully enough of us, as Joe Biden said in his inaugural speech, if enough of us come together and unify for the same cause, then we can make progress. If enough of us, he's a realist. He knows that not everyone is going to agree. Not everyone is going to jump on the bandwagon together. But if enough of us out there believe in moving forward and doing the right thing, again, believing in facts, not fiction, right from wrong, empathy, compassion, then we're going to get somewhere. And that is certainly my hope. And that's why today I'm feeling so much better. I'm a realist too. I can be very jaded. I'm a journalist, so I tend to be jaded. But I have a lot of hope, more than I have had in a long time, about where we're going, the direction we're headed in. I know it's going to be rough. I know it's going to be bumpy. I know it's going to be challenging. But, I want to be hopeful. So I choose to be hopeful. I want unity and love, like this shirt expresses. Unity and love. That's what we need. All right. So I think that is it. Yeah. I think I got everything out that I wanted to talk about and say. But before I leave, thank you everyone for, your support and listening and watching. It's been quite a year. The show has been on almost 1 year. It's going to be 1 year at the beginning of February. So it's been quite a year, a very unexpected year. And the show has developed into something I didn't expect. But I've had my share of challenges and continue to have my share of challenges, wondering how I can take the show to the next level, how I can increase, viewership and listenership, how I can get more engagement from all of you. But I do thank those of you who have been so supportive from the beginning, or who have joined recently and expressed your support and, the fact that you really appreciate this show. So I want to thank you for that. So, hey, listen, I always want to hear your ideas. What do you want me to talk about? Who do you want to hear from? some of you write in and say, oh, can you get so-and-so? Can you talk about this? And I love that. I love it because I want this show to be, a platform for all of us. I want it to be, I want it to represent what we care about. So yeah, write me. Join me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do, The Mei Lee Show. So yeah, I love hearing from you. So thank you for engaging in that way. I always say that maybe I don't have the millions of followers like some other people do, but I sure as hell have some quality people who follow me and are tuned into the show. And so, you know what they say, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. Okay. All right, everyone, take care. Let's move forward with unity and love, okay? All right, until next time, bye-bye.